evening and welcome to Meticulous Moments. My name is Juanita Kapp. You can reach me at meticulousmacarons@gmail.com or find me on LinkedIn. Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe, I've had the wonderful privilege to meet a wide array of fantastic individuals. These individuals have truly touched my life in so many positive ways. Amongst this group of people, there are authors, public speakers, life coaches, poets, leaders, and visionaries. They are the unsung heroes of our time. Therefore, I decided to start the Meticulous Moments movement out of a sense of my gratitude. It is my way of giving back to the community. Let us share and reshare their stories in an effort to build a better society. Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today we have the privilege of spending time with the phenomenal Dr. Joshua Fredenburg. A little bit more about Dr. Fredenburg. Dr. Fredenburg is a dynamic in-person, virtual, and hybrid speaker. He's the author of 7 books. Diversity, inclusion and leadership specialist. He is an EQ certified coach and trainer. Curator of career and leadership development events. And he talks about the following. Talks about public speaking, workplace culture, diversity and inclusion, leadership development, and generational differences. Believe me, this is a session you do not want to miss. Dr. Joshua Fredenburg is a phenomenal leader. He is a strong personality and his heart is really for the community. And with that we say, welcome Dr. Joshua Fredenburg.
Good evening everyone. Welcome at Meticulous Moments. This evening we have the privilege of spending time with Dr. Joshua Fredenburg, also known as Dr. J. And we are so happy to have him in this session. Welcome Dr. J.
Hey, how you doing? Great to be here. Thank you so much for having me on this wonderful podcast.
Thank you, Dr. J. Absolutely. We are looking forward to spending some valuable moments with you. Thank you for making time for us today.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed.
Wonderful. Dr. J, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Joshua Fredenburg, aka Dr. J. Number one, I'm an international speaker, so I travel across the country, more so in the States, but also across the world, empowering people to be more effective leaders and to make an impact in the world. So that's really, in a nutshell, what I do is really inspiring people to become more effective leaders, because I believe that leadership transforms communities, nations, as well as our world. In addition to that, author of 7 books and president of the Circle of Change Leadership Conference, which is a national conference we do here in USA that prepares students for career leadership success.
Fantastic. And hearing that, it is just evidently clear that you fit in so well at the Meticulous Moments podcast, because our aim is to facilitate community upliftment through leadership development. So that is wonderful to hear. It's also inspiring to hear that you travel the globe to empower leaders. That is your heart. So you're a very heart-centered leader.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely comes from the heart. Definitely comes service. You know, when you do it leadership is about service, right? So not only is there responsibility, but there's service. And so I always tell people the reason you become a leader is because you want to become actually a greater servant. You want to help people, you want to solve problems, you want to make the culture better, and ultimately you want to make people better. So when we deal with leadership, it's really just I like to look at leadership as more of an approach that you want to help people, you want to serve people and make the world a better place, which is why I think that when we have effective leaders, our communities, our nation, our world becomes a better place.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. Servant leadership is detrimental to society and the building of our new incoming leaders. I remember being on a Zoom call in 2020 during the COVID that you hosted. And I remember that you started, various projects. Now, since then, 2 years have lapsed and you have been going strong, going from strength to strength. Please update us on your latest projects.
Yeah, so I guess our latest project that we've been developing is for first generation students. So about a year and a half ago, we launched a First Gen Career Conference, and that's really specifically geared towards those who are first generation in their family to go to college. And that definition is many people have different definition of what it means to be a first generation student, but primarily if you fall into that area, we really wanted to reach out and create a program where we're empowering them with the skill sets necessary to prepare them for, we like to say, career leadership success. Because when you deal with first generation students, there's a lot of information and programs on college success, but not necessarily as much as relates to career success. Another thing that I'm working on or in the process is our new book, Red Leadership, How to Retain, Engage, and Develop More Culturally Diverse Leaders. And so out of that book, I'm working on what I call a Red Leadership Framework. And with this framework is really specifically for those that are dealing with retention issues, those that are dealing with engagement issues, productivity issues, or really just how do you develop more leaders? And so that's a framework that I created out of my book that I'm creating into a workbook now as well. So those are just some of the things that we're doing as it relates to leadership. And then obviously all the other stuff that's been going on. I'm still doing that as well. But those are a couple of new projects that I've been working on.
That's wonderful news. Absolutely. And it's something that we have to address in our contemporary time. I always tell people, I feel like there's always kind of been, and for some reason, I'm not sure for which reason, but there's always been this chasm between the salted leaders and the upcoming leaders. And you explained how you help leaders to go from college into the workplace, which is extremely important because having all this knowledge, they need someone to teach them how to apply that knowledge to make it practical. So I really feel that, the projects that you are busy with is closing that gap because COVID actually, I think, enlarged that gap in a sense because we were so disconnected, most of us. And now the projects that you are busy with is kind of closing that gap and bringing easy transition for the upcoming leaders into the workplace, to find their feet in society.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a gap and that deals with generational leadership. And now we're dealing with generational differences. But there's definitely a major leadership gap. I often say, I think we do have a leadership crisis. I know in the US, we have a leadership crisis. Now, as far as globally, that's a whole other conversation. But I know here, there's definitely a leadership crisis. And I think that in order for us to not only get out of what we are in right now, but also the multiplicity of other issues, there's definitely going to take some leadership adjustments and also some people that are willing to make some modifications to our leadership style. I think that's really important in all aspects of society. I think that the need for better leadership is needed more than ever, for sure.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. Thank you so much for articulating that so well. I really appreciate it. Now, I read up a little bit on you, and you are described as a dynamic, inspirational, high-energy speaker that has served as a speaker in 47 different states and 2 countries. And I have to ask, where did this magnificent leadership journey start?
Well, really started back in my college days. So when I was 6 years of age, I had a vision that one day I wanted to become a basketball player and a sports broadcaster. And so throughout my entire young life, that was my aspiration. That was my goal. And that's where I was headed. About the age of 18 years of age, I go to college at Long Beach State University. I try out for the team after working really hard, and I end up missing the team by 1 player. So you can imagine the frustration, the agitation, the irritation that was going through my mind at that moment. Luckily for me, there was a quote that I always like to share. And the quote is that rejection is direction to something better. And so I often tell people, or even for my own life, that anytime one door is closed, there's always another door that's getting ready to open. And so with that thought, still in frustration, still agitated, I began to embrace the collegiate experience. And in that process, I had a communications class where we had to do a 5-minute speech. I'd never really done many presentations, wasn't really my thing. Again, my stuff was basketball. So I get up there and I start doing this presentation. And the professor is loving the presentation. It's going really, really well. And the professor says, gives up giving me an A in the class. But it wasn't really the A that was most important. It was that I actually unlocked what I call one of my seeds of greatness, was a gift of communication. So at that point, I realized that I had an ability to speak. And so because of identifying my ability to speak, I decided to take another communications class, which was speech and debate. And in that class, I was undefeated, never lost. And so at this moment, I discovered I had a gift. I discovered I had a passion. And then I was part of a campus-based organization where every week they would ask someone to talk. And so one week I said, I want to talk because, again, I felt I was good. I had a passion and I love to speak. And so I give my first presentation, 50% of people start bawling in tears. And I call that my spark moment, where I finally uncovered that what I want to do is I want to be a speaker. Really didn't have any direction, really didn't have any mentors, really didn't have any path. I just knew that I wanted to be a speaker. And so from that moment out, I stepped out. I like to say stepped out on faith, and I began to pursue this career. And through all the challenges, obstacles, uncertainty, roadblocks, doubts, haters, naysayers, staying here today to say that I've started a business, traveled all these different places, and I'm still going strong today, 25 years later. So that's really been my story. That's how I got to where I am today. And just really realized that speaking is what I do. That's what my bread and butter is. That's my skill set. In addition to everything else I do, at the end of the day, my thing is speaking and delivering messages.
That's wonderful. That's a fantastic testimony to think that in that divine appointed moment, in that Kairos moment, you know, you started speaking, and that led to so many other things. And 25 years later, here you are, inspiring people across the globe, helping to build new leaders, you know, bringing upliftment. That is just fantastic. Just that one step, taking that one chance, and look what it led to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's that moment, right? That moment where I guess you discover your why. You discover what you do. So I'm really big on being in what I like. One person talks now the genius place, and the genius place I like to say, and again, I got this from a woman by the name of Felicia Hatcher, but she talked about a genius place. And I call the genius place like your place where you're not only functioning at your highest potential, but you're functioning at a place that you're passionate about. Because so many people are either doing things they're good at, but they're not passionate about, or they're passionate about, but they're not really thriving or succeeding because maybe it doesn't align with what their gift or their strength is. So I like to call the genius place where the gift and the passion align, and you're in that space. And I think that's where you reach maximum impact in whatever, area of expertise that you pursue within your career.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is the art of getting into that flow. Letting who you are come out and letting it be such a wonderful part of your life that you are passionate about it, you are happy at what you are doing. And of course, the result will then be just magnificent because your heart and soul is poured into it. And I keep a leadership journal, and I'm thinking of something. I'm thinking of writing there that leaders do not fear the unknown because, it took courage for you. You were into sport, and all of a sudden you took up that courage and you stood up and you started speaking. And that's when you discovered your flow. And it is just, flowing out of you like living waters, I would say, life-giving waters to leaders out there that really thirst for knowledge. And I always say we give God all the glory because it's only by His grace that we are able to do the things that we are able to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely by His grace. Now we can go down that road. So for me, everything in my life from a foundational standpoint is based on my assignment from God here on the earth. So if we go down that road, I can go deeper into what I would talk about, because I think number one, everything starts with God. And so for me, if we talk about God, I just think that it comes down first with your relationship. So I like to often say, not do you go to church, but do you have a relationship with God? Do you actually have an authentic relationship where you're communing, or like I like to say, a partner? I think that's the first step. And then as you partner with God, I have found in my life that God will begin to speak to you and will begin to give vision and give you insight and direction on really what your purpose is. And one of the things you talked about, the unknown, I think leadership requires you to be able to function in the unknown. Because I think one of the foundations of leaders is vision. I often define vision as an ability, a clear, concise, captivating Instagram picture of your future. And most visions begin in the unknown. And so if you don't know how to walk in the unknown, I would suffice it to say, I don't know if you're really ready to lead, because true leaders function in the unknown based on the vision that they see. And they have an ability to pull the vision from an imagination space and bring it into reality, which we call in I like to say spiritual leadership faith, right? That's the faith aspect. Again, when we go back to God, do you actually have faith to believe in the vision that you have been given? And that's where it becomes unknown, right? That's where it becomes a faith walk. That's where you begin to trust God, knowing that he has called you to it, and somehow, some way, it's going to work itself out. I have a good friend by the name of Douglas Neal, and he says it's more important to identify your why than your how, because he said if you have the why, the how will take care of itself. And that's what I like to define as the passionate reason why you do what you do. So if I'm walking in passion, if I'm walking in vision, that in itself will produce the things that need to be produced in the unknown.
Wonderful, wonderful illustration. I love that. It's going to stay with me. It's going to stay with me. I love that. And I agree. Everything stems from God. And if God gives us that vision, it's only up to us to have that faith. He is really doing the work. He just needs us as the vessel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, since we're going to go on that road, from a Judeo-Christiano standpoint, one of the things that I've understood when it comes from God is I believe it's a word from God. So when God gives me a vision, my belief is that that is a divine word from God. And when you study out what a divine word is, in Isaiah, God says, I am a God that I should not lie. So if he gives you the word, that means it has to happen based on your ability to believe. So he said, I'm going to do this. But the question is, do you actually believe it? And I have found that it's my ability to stand, to speak, and believe his word that leads to the manifestation of the word. And I've also found that his word encourages me, motivates me, inspires me, and actually does supernatural things for those that believe and speak it. And again, we're now we're in a whole different place from academia, but I believe that the word is powerful. And
absolutely,
I was gonna, one of the scriptures I always love to tell people is it says, in Ephesians, it says, the sword of the Spirit is the word. And so again, I believe we live in a spiritual, I believe there's a spiritual atmosphere in addition to our natural, right? And so, and I believe that there's negative spirits out there. And so I believe that when the word is spoken, not only does it affect the natural, but it affects the spiritual as well. And that's what enables certain people to walk in what I like to call the supernatural versus just the natural.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what is profound? It is available to all of us.
Yep, definitely.
You just have to make that decision to say, well, I'm ready, let's go.
Absolutely.
And the Lord is always there and he will be with you.
Yep, it's just a yes. It's the question.
It's just a yes. I agree with you, Dr. J. Absolutely. And, you are a salted public speaker. And I'm wondering, what is your favorite part of public speaking? Because public speaking is so much more. I don't think people realize the effort, the backstory, the preparation, the mental, the emotional preparation, getting to the place where you need to be, acquiring those skills to be successful. I mean, you've been training for years. You've been training other people to be successful, and you have been conducting public speaking. That's hard work. But what is your favorite part? Because there's a lot of parts to public speaking. It's not just one thing. You just get up and you speak. It's an intricate process. There's a specific way to be effective in public speaking. What is your favorite part of this process?
Yeah, that's a really good. I think the favorite part is when you're able to connect with an audience and you're able to inspire, right? I think that's the best part, when you're in a position where you're just so align with your audience, that you're able just to connect with them and see the light bulbs go out and know that there's been a fire lit on the inside that's going to lead to future transformation. I think number 2 would be learning. It's always, one of the great things about speaking is you'll always learn. I often tell people that in my presentations, I learn different things. So like, for instance, as we're talking right now, I just realized a new article, Leading in the Unknown, and talking about how that could be a whole program and a whole process in itself for there. But again, stuff just comes up as you're talking. Obviously meeting new people. So I love meeting people, love traveling, love going to different places, love seeing different things. So those are definitely the joys. Obviously being on stage and just being in your space, right? To do what you do. Those are some of the things that I really like about speaking, for sure.
Fantastic. I agree with you. There's nothing like connecting to an audience and seeing that, they are grasping the message and just knowing that it is going to make a positive difference. I agree with you. That is fantastic. And then, of course, as leaders, we are committed to a life of lifelong learning and personal and professional development. That is something that we will always be a part of. So that is also enjoyable, as academics as well. We want to learn new things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Dr. J, who's your role model?
Oh, I have a lot of role models. I think Christ, that's a role model.
Amen.
I think my family, other speakers, athletes. I have a multifaceted of people. I really strive to follow people that attain greatness. So anyone that aspires to attain greatness at any level is a role model, something I aspire to do. And that comes in a multifaceted ways, but it's just great to see the process of greatness and what people do to become who they are. So there's a multifaceted of people that I would consider my role models, for sure.
That's a fantastic answer. And it's the first time that I've ever asked that question that someone answers in this manner. Because normally they list 1 or 2 names, but you have a wonderful approach because it gives you a well-rounded view, of people's accomplishments and what you learn from them, their journey. It's amazing. I love that answer. And I look at leadership development and I see the training that I've done, discipleship courses in church, leadership training in the corporate sense. And I often prepare the students or the teams and I say, you are going to face disappointments. You are going to have failures because the failures are part of the journey. It's part of your growth. And what I try to embed into their subconscious minds is to say that the failure does not reflect on you as a person. You are not the failure. Failing just means that you have to recalibrate your plan. You have to recalibrate your approach. So what is your opinion on that? How should leaders deal with disappointments? Because they are inevitable. We live in a broken world. There's broken people. Systems are not always what they're supposed to be. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, no, I think you said it great. The quote that I like to say is failure is a preparation for success. And so anything that you do, you're going to fail. As a matter of fact, you have to fail to succeed. And I think that's really important for people to understand. I often tell people there's an old saying several years ago when I was younger, and they would say, first is the worst, second is the best. And it was a popular thing that people said in elementary and middle school, but it's so true. The first time you do anything is always going to be the worst.
Yes.
But based on how you assess, based on how you evaluate, that's where you get better. And that's where what I like to say, growth mindset comes in, where you're always striving to get better. You're a lifelong learner. You're always asking yourself the question, whether good or bad, how can we get better? Like it was good, it was impactful, but how can we get better? And I think one of the things that holds people back from really attaining greatness is they get comfortable and they stop striving to get better. And so the question oftentimes is, you're good, you're effective, but what can you add this year that would take it to a whole nother level? What specific things could you integrate that can take it to another level? So this is the growth mindset. This is saying I'm not satisfied being average, but I want to even become that much more better.
Fantastic. Absolutely. I agree with you completely. You know, we can never, it's not logical to think that we can be a novice at everything we try the first time. There is a process. That is how life is structured. So thank you for that answer. I agree with you 100%. And I know in the 25 years that you have been doing public speaking, being a leader, I'm sure there have been difficult projects that you have had to navigate through. And I want to ask you, what was your most difficult project and how did you manage to navigate through it?
What, as far as my most difficult project I've ever faced that I struggle with to get through?
Yeah.
Whew. No, I mean, there's been a lot. I think, one that I still haven't solved is social media marketing. I still haven't figured that one out. That's one I definitely say that's always been a interesting thing to figure out.
Yeah, because it keeps changing.
It keeps changing, and maybe I haven't taken enough time to really research and really dig deeper into it based on my what I do, which is a good thing to talk about. That you have to do your research and you really have to dig deeper to get better. But I think, my greatest challenge would be, I would say my thinking. I think that sometimes I can think bigger. And I think sometimes I can believe for more or increase my capacity.
Yeah.
And so I think that would probably be my biggest challenge, to begin to believe for stuff that I can't actually do myself.
Yes.
But it can still be manifested if I can believe and do the steps and create the systems and connect the connections to make it happen. So I would think that'd probably be my biggest challenge, is to really step into a place that's outside of yourself.
Yes, and I think, I know that is a daily struggle for us all.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have these self-limiting beliefs sometimes.
Yep.
And we want to do something, but sometimes it just seems a little bit too majestic.
Yeah.
Where we should actually be saying, I've climbed that mountain, I'm going to climb a bigger mountain now. But it's easier to say that than to do it when you are in that moment, and especially when you do it alone. So I think that is something that we all go through constantly. It's a good answer. Thank you, Dr. J.
Absolutely.
Dr. J, why should leaders have empathy?
Empathy helps you understand. So the more empathetic I am, the more culturally intelligent I become. The more empathetic I am, the more socially aware I become. And so if I have cultural intelligence and social awareness, then I can be more effective at serving people and really putting people in a position to reach their fullest potential. And I understand better. So I think one of the greatest challenges now, we start to deal with inclusive leadership and leading diverse groups of people. One of the great challenges is a lack of cultural intelligence, social awareness, listening, understanding, and just really, digging deeper to what's really going on with people. Because a lot of times, some of the behaviors, some of the responses that sometimes may rub people the wrong way are really internal issues that are going on that need to be solved. One woman once said that hurt people. So sometimes the people that are toxic may be the people that are crying out for the most help. But if I'm not empathetic, if I don't take the time to get to know or listen or put myself in their shoes, I may not really understand what they're actually saying. So empathetic leadership enables us not only to serve better, but ultimately to be more impactful and put people in positions where they can lead and they can be more effective.
True, because we can be in the biggest corporate company, we can be busy with the biggest projects, but we will always be working with people. And it's not really about what we are busy with. It's always about the people, because I've seen in the corporate sense, in certain companies, I can't generalize, In the companies that I've had contact with, there was always a tremendous focus on output, 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 where if I look at the situation, instead of having burned out employees and focusing on the output constantly, focus on the mental, the emotional, the physical health of the employees, let them feel validated, really be interested in their lives, let them feel accepted, and they will be happy and passionate and healthy, and the output will take care of itself.
Right. Yep. Wellness is very important. Wellness is extremely important. Yes. I guess I like to talk about self-care, but I think, something you bring up is, are you concerned about the wellness of your people? I mean, that's really the question. Are you concerned about, do they feel valued? Do they feel supported? Do they feel that you have their back? Are they placed in a position in order to thrive and to succeed? I think those are very relevant topics as it relates to leadership that is really important. But again, none of that happens if you don't take the time to understand or build knowledge about them.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I do agree with you with all my heart. And we're talking empathy. We're talking emotional intelligence. We've had in the past, and you will know this because you are in the corporate sphere, you work with people, you've been to 47 states. I mean, that is a lot of exposure to different people with different personalities on different leadership levels. We talk about hard skills. There's a lot of focus on the hard skills. These days, they refer to the soft skills as power skills. And I always tell people, some things are taught. I've heard that before. I don't know whose reference that is, but some things are taught and some things are caught. And I just want to hear your opinion on what is the value of a soft skill, as they refer to them now as power skills. How would you place value? What is the sweet spot, I'd say, between the hard skills and the soft skills in our contemporary time?
Yeah, I mean, I think hard skills are important, but relationship building skills, interpersonal communication, I think we talk about emotional intelligence. It was Daniel Goleman that said that 90% of high potential have emotional intelligence. And they go so far to say that the trajectory of leadership all comes down to emotional intelligence, because the thing is, you can do your job really well, but if you don't know how to deal with people, then it's going to be really difficult to really reach fullest levels of success. Because if I don't know how to deal with people, if I don't know how to communicate, if I don't know how to build relationships, if I don't know how to connect, if I don't know how to read nonverbal cues, it'll be very difficult for me to motivate, for me to inspire, for me to lead, for me to galvanize, for me to unite. Like, literally, those are essential skills to really become an effective leader. Because even when we define leadership, an ability to influence people to a certain destination, to make an impact. I can't influence if I don't have soft skills, because most of the influence is based on soft skills, is based on understanding, is based on how you word, how you say things. All those are soft skills.
Absolutely. No, definitely. Wonderful answer to a very, very contemporary issue that we are dealing with. And I hope in the audience that they take this knowledge that you are rendering and they apply it in their lives, and they try to understand others better and to practice emotional intelligence, because, people are important. We have to value them. We have to treat them with dignity. And we really have to realize that they are, at the end of the day, just normal people trying to get through life, trying to excel just like us. And the moment we realize that we're all just trying to make a difference together, I think that changes the lenses that we look through when we have that empathy with people and that compassionate approach to them. I think that would make corporate settings much more pleasurable and favorable for not only the people, but also the output that the company expects. So thank you very much for that answer. And I know, Dr. J, that you have a very busy schedule. And I know that, we read articles about work-life balance.
Mhm.
So some say work-life balance is something that we can practice. Other articles say, and there's a lot of them on LinkedIn, that it is a myth. Do you practice work-life balance, and how do you do it?
I wouldn't say that I do work-life balance because I don't really feel I'm working. I feel I'm living in
I
purpose.
love your answer. Yeah.
So I feel I'm living in purpose, but there is something that my good friend, Dr. Michael Benitez says. He doesn't even use the word self-care. He uses the word self-preservation.
Oh,
And I
good.
love that word because I think it's better than self-care. Self-care is more of an individualistic word. Self-preservation is more of a collective word. And so I'm preserving myself so that I can be more effective at serving other people long term, right? So I don't even like the word work-life balance, self-care. I like self-preservation, that I am aware of taking breaks and doing things to rest so that I can serve better. So ultimately, everything I do is about being more effective at serving other people. And so that's how I would look at, work-life balance. It's where I don't want to say work-life balance. It's more so I'm doing things to make sure that I'm in the right space when I'm serving as a leader.
Yeah. Absolutely, I agree with you. And self-preservation is not something selfish. Instead, it's something selfless.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I always teach leaders, I see a lot of this in the corporate world. I've seen that, when you compare, you compete. Yep. And I always tell leaders that it is not a competition. Everybody is there to become the best version of themselves. What is your opinion on that phrase? When we compare, we compete.
Right. Yeah, you can't compare because, well, first of all, it's never fair. Let's just start there. Yeah. So you can't compare because you don't know. There's a lot of factors to success. Let's start there, right? So there's a lot of different factors to success. So even if someone is well known, doesn't mean that they're better than the person that's not well known. True. And I think that's a really big factor. So as a public speaker, I see a lot of speakers. There's very popular ones you hear about. But there's some people that have no idea about that are much better than the ones you hear about. It's just there's certain factors that are in place that enable certain people to get ahead and others not to get ahead. And also we have different assignments. So one person may have the capacity to handle the stress, the pressure, the pain, the tension that comes with leading hundreds of thousands of people. Whereas another one may be more suited for 10 people. Doesn't matter, doesn't say one is better than the other. It's just based on your capacity and what's best for you. And I think a lot of times we get in bad situations or we start to feel low self-esteem and feel like we're not valuable because we're allowing society to define what success is for us, when in reality, we should be defining what success is for us based on our own individual self-awareness. What's making you happy? What's waking you up in the morning? What makes you feel fulfilled versus allowing other people to define that for you?
Absolutely, yes, because there's no real universal framework that we can say we can compare every single person with each other. We all have different personalities, we have different skill sets, we have different strengths, we have different weaknesses. How can you ever say there's one framework? So to compare would just be silly. It would be a waste of time because every single person is unique in their own right. And every single person is a leader. I mean, it starts with self-leadership initially. It goes over to leadership of others, the corporation stakeholders. So I agree with you. Yeah, there is no framework to say that everybody can compete with each other. It's not a competition. It's a journey.
Right. Yep. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. J. You were saying?
No, I was waiting for you. You were going to say. I was just stopping. I was waiting for what you were going to say. So I said.
Same here. We were pausing at the same time.
Right.
Dr. J, what's next for you? Are there any upcoming events we can support you with? What are your new ventures?
Yeah, so my first new venture is our Circle of Change Leadership Conference. It is virtual. No, it's hybrid. Excuse me. It'll be hybrid. December 2nd to the 4th, 2022. We'll be in person in Long Beach, California, at Long Beach State University, but it will also be virtual. So if anyone wants to register, you can register online or you can register in person. It'll definitely be extremely transformational. Also have a new Red Leadership Framework book. I don't know if it'll be done by then, but I'm working on that. And then other than that, obviously, those are the two main things I see. Obviously, if someone's looking for a speaker, I'm always down for that as well. So definitely I'll throw that out there. But that's basically the specific thing I'm working on right now.
Wonderful. And to the audience, I just want to say we are going to make Dr. J's contact details available, the services that he's offering, the upcoming events. So watch at the end of the video how you can network with him, how you can contact him, as he's busy with his projects. Let's support his projects because it is really making a big difference, not only in society, but in every single individual's life. It starts with us. If we, make the right choices, we live the lives that we aspire to live. I've heard a slogan before that says, the choices you make is the life that you live. We always have a choice every single day. If we are going to be learning new things, if we are going to be impactful in other people's lives, these are the kind of events that you as a leader should be attending. So look out for the links at the end of the session and register and follow Dr. J on social media. And it has been so lovely to discuss leadership with you, Dr. J. I can't believe we've arrived at the final question.
Awesome. It's been great being with you as well. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Thank you, Dr. J. And my final question to you would be, do you have any words of wisdom for the audience?
Any words of wisdom? Oh, that's a really loaded question. Since we went there, I would just say know God and
Amen.
Allow God to direct your steps. And I promise you everything else will take care of itself.
There you have it, audience. Words of wisdom, 2 words from Dr. J. Very impactful, life-changing. Know God. Beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us, for, the impartation of your knowledge and experience, your wisdom. We deeply appreciate you. We're going to follow you on social media and cheer you on this wonderful journey that started 25 years ago.
Appreciate that so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that a lot.
Thank you, Dr. J. And to the Meticulous Moments audience, thank you for joining us for yet another session. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.